Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to my Sunday Orchid chat. The end to a perfect day. Just goes from one thing to another. Now, when live streaming is available, well, that must be a YouTube thing, then the laptop sitting there sort of works. As part of what I'd planned to do today, I was going to look at some of the plants on that shelf, which I now can't get at because the laptop's in the way. But that is a place where the laptop actually works. The camera is at head height, so that bit works. It gets a good bit of the grow room in. It's quite a wide angle, so it will work for future reference. Why live streaming isn't available at the moment, I don't know, and I have tried again, but I'm not messing about with it. I've just had one of those days. I found effectively 2 linked bugs in Google's Gmail procedures. And because they're bugs, there's nothing much I can do about them. But it's cost me my main email account. It's now locked out. I can't get at it. And in there are an awful lot of contacts, and I've now got no access to their email addresses. They're all locked out as well. Luckily, I can still get at that account, strangely enough, on my phone. So all is not lost, but I just hate messing about doing email on my phone. You know, I just find typing stuff on a phone tediously tedious, whereas I've got a keyboard. That's where I do my typing, and I can do it fast, and I can see what I'm doing. And my big clumsy fingers fit on the keys quite nicely, as opposed to not on the phone. I know what's happened, I know why it happens, and I know what the bug in the software is. Google's Gmail has decided in its infinite wisdom that where there is a recovery phone on the account, it has imposed 2-stage verification, which means you put your username in, you put your password in, and then it comes up basically with a little gap to type a code in. Your phone goes off with a text message with the code on. You then type that code in, that's the 2nd-stage verification, and you get into your account. I got fed up with doing this. It annoyed me because the bug is that in the account settings, I've got 2-stage verification switched to off. And it's taking no flipping notice of it. So that's the bug, basically. But it's also geared up to another bug that is basically, you know, I've had this laptop a while now. It's not like it's brand new anymore. I've had it some months and I use it for all my mail. Yeah? It's not recognizing my device. So somehow it's not storing the information about that laptop so that when I come in next time, it recognizes the device. That's why it's imposing the 2-stage verification, because it's worried that it's not me. You know, it thinks it's a different device trying to sign in. So several bugs there, all interacting. And because I was fed up with it, I decided to remove my recovery phone number. Well, having removed it, I now can't get back in because it tries to use the 2-stage verification, because it doesn't recognize the device, via my recovery email, which it refuses to accept. So that account's just locked now, I can't get in. But I can still use it on my phone. I just can't get at any of the settings or anything. So it's not dead, it's just become a nuisance. And then I proved the point because I had a look at some of my other emails. I set up a special email for the Bournemouth Orchid Society to go on the details page and on the web page and all that sort of stuff. I didn't put a recovery phone number on that. That doesn't do the 2-stage thing. I just put in the username, password, and I'm in. So that's okay. My Rogers Orchids to Go email which is to do with the plants that people have bid on, is also now locked. So don't send any emails to that one. I won't get them. I'll give you another one in the description of this video with a note to say why it's there. In fact, the easiest thing, quite honestly, is to just use the email address that goes with the channel. That's in every description on every video. I only set up the other one to keep those emails separate, but you know, everybody that's mailed in with their bids and everything, that's fine because I set up a spreadsheet. So I've got all those details. I'm okay with that. But you'll probably have to send your addresses in again. Will you have to send your addresses in again? No, you won't. No, because I've already written the letters to go in the packages and the addresses are on there. So no, you don't need to do anything. So all those people that bid on those plants, you don't need to do anything. But when I contact you, you know, if I ever get round to posting these parcels, really reluctant to post live plants in parcels at the moment. You know, I've heard all sorts of horror stories about serious delays in lots of parts of the world, and including the UK now. So, you know, the cold weather's gone, but I don't want plants sitting in boxes for possibly weeks on end. There's no point. It's just not worth the risk. So I'll just hold on to things for a while. And at such time when I think the post is all okay again, to one degree or the other, I will... Yes, of course I'll contact those people via their email, won't I? How am I going to have their email address when it's in my account that's locked? You will have to send me an email, won't you? I'll do a video about it at the appropriate time. Don't worry about it now. Enough worries at night. Anything. So yes, I've proved the point that I set up a brand new account, yeah, put the recovery phone number on it with the setting for two-stage recovery off, and it instantly asked me for a verification code. Yeah, that account I'll just delete at some point when I get around to it, when I can be bothered. But I then set up another one and didn't put the phone number in. I left it blank because it says it's optional, so I left it blank. And that one I can just log straight into. Username, password, straight in. So that's where the bug is. If the recovery phone number goes in, it uses it. But the initial source of the problem is not recognising my device or not being capable of storing it in such a way that next time it's used, it recognises it. Either way, they're software bugs. Bloody nuisance. So I've had one of those days, and of course now my main email is messed up. I've set up a new one without a recovery phone number on it so that I can just log in anytime I want. And now I'm methodically going through every possible place that email lives, and it's endless. You know, you start off with my Facebook account, yeah? Well, you change your email address on there, you've changed your login, yeah? So I've done that now. That's nothing, that's not the Facebook group, there's nothing wrong with that. That uses the channel email. No, this is my personal Facebook page. So I've done that. I've had to change my PayPal account. I've had to change my eBay. What else? I've had to find my car insurance and change that. The list just goes on. I've gone into my bank and changed that. And my wine club. I'm gradually going through them slowly but surely. Of course, this is when you find out that you've forgotten the flipping passwords. So I've got two things. See, and the problem is, because they've used that email address, I can't change the password unless I can log in. And I can't log in because I've forgotten the password. So all they will do is send an email with a link to change my password, which I then can't get at because I can't log in. These things are not thought through. Nobody ever envisages in all the recoveries and all the methodologies that they adopt on accounts and things, they never envisage that the email you've got on their system is locked. Nobody ever imagines that that can happen and you've lost access to that email account. It can happen. The first time it ever happened to me, I didn't realised, quite honestly, was I had an email with my internet service provider. You know, you can have up to 5 emails. So I created one and I used it for years and years and years. And then eventually I decided to change internet suppliers and my email got locked out. And I couldn't get in. And I couldn't tell anyone. All my contacts were in there, everything. So you need to think about backing stuff up with emails. You know, when you've got a main email that you use for an awful lot of stuff and all your contacts are in there and everything, it's worth backing that up in some shape or form, because if you ever lose access to it, it's a big deal. It's been a big deal nearly all day. And so it's wine o'clock early. Well, early-ish. Right, this was commented on. Let's get back to some flipping orchids and do something civilised. I've managed to go the whole day without actually breaking anything deliberately, but we have got to the point where we have thumped the desk several times, avoiding the keyboard on the laptop. This Chrysotoxum is a good, strong, healthy plant that has grown well for me. Yeah? And it put on a really good show that lasted hardly any time at all. And now it's not going to do anything until this time next year. So despite being a good plant, despite putting on a good show, it takes up an awful lot of space for a 10-day spectacle. So that might be going on the list of stuff to go. But that would have to go via one of the orchid societies. There's no way I'm posting a box big enough to get that in. It would have to be manhandled or delivered or something like that. But I think that will probably become one to go. What else did I notice? That something's doing something strange. The anosmum. Now this is the one where quite a lot of the new roots that grew last year, let me get the camera up near the base, you can see those new roots just stopped dead in their tracks. They didn't progress properly. Some others did higher up the mount, but those ones, this is the new cane with the blooms on, singular, just the one, and those new roots failed. Now, is that those little black beetle things? Perhaps they feed at night or something. I don't know. Anyway, I will be getting rid of them, whatever they are. I don't care if they're beneficial. I'm not prepared to take the risk. But this plant's doing something odd. This is an old cane. In fact, it's last year's cane. So it bloomed last year. It's highly unlikely to be a bloom. I suppose it's remotely possible. Could be a kiki. We shall have to see, won't we? But yeah, the anosmum didn't do that well last year. The cane it grew was nowhere near full size and it only grew one. So it's not a happy plant. Well, if it's not a happy plant and it doesn't, you know, it's not prepared to do that well for me, it'll have to go. Because at the end of the day, if I had to choose between that and that, this would win every time. Hands down. Yeah? It grows longer canes, it grows better for me, it's already putting out a stonking new growth, although there is only one, but then it only grew one last year. But yeah, I mean, to me, these blooms are far better. Far better. Fragrance is the same, or virtually identical on both, so that's good. Oh, what else did I notice? We've got some nearlies. We've got some nearly ready to show you and not quite. Here's a nearly ready to show you. This isn't even my plant. This is one of the ones to go, which is now going to bloom here, unfortunately. But at least it will go on film. But yeah, it's just cracking its first bud. So another 2 days that will be open, and then in about 12 days it'll be gone. It's another one of those. But at least that one blooms several times a year, or can bloom several times a year. Doesn't necessarily always, but it can, and it's easy to do that as well. Watering the Vandas yesterday, the one that has the tightly clustered orange blooms has just started to spike. I don't see any spike on the giant purple one yet. This thing is chucking out some quite strong new growths now. We've got 2, so at least it's doing something. Not a lot, but yeah, I mean, it hasn't done anything since I got it, but at least it is now. So that's that one. There was something else nearly. Oh yes, Masdevallia ignea is nearly. You can see the colour inside just about, so that's a nearly open, but not quite. Several nearly things, but so my back hurts as well. I haven't been sitting right where I've been stressed most of the day. Obviously I've been sitting in my computer chair a lot of the day. Saved on coffee because I was so intent on getting all this stuff done I forgot to get up and have coffees. We're making up for it now with the wine, but yeah, a strange day. And one thing I did want to show was this, the Lindleyi. Now, several people commented that the flowers were pale. Oh, I need that in a better place than that, don't I? I'll just put it up there. I know the backdrop's not brilliant, but at least I can get the point that I'm trying to make. Now, when these blooms open, they're that colour. Yeah? And then after a while, they become that colour. And after even longer, they become that colour, which is the exact colour I was expecting. So it's not a type of clone or any form of hybrid or anything like that. I mean, there's a classic example. There's a brand new one just opening next to one that's been open a while. You can see the difference in the colours there. So it is now colouring to the colour I was expecting. Bearing in mind I wasn't expecting any blooms at all. It's doing okay. But one thing I ought to have done is tried to untangle the spikes before they open their blooms, because they're all crossed over. This spike here is going through and coming out here. I'd need two hands to untangle that. Definitely, otherwise I'd pull half the buds off. They get hooked very easily. No, I can't do that without. So we'll leave it. But yes, I'm pleased that it's bloomed, and that's not a bad show. I mean, I've seen people putting a display like that on the Dendrobium species website as a good plant and a good bloomer. Obviously it's going to get better and better as the years go on. I don't see me having any problems at all growing that on the grounds that the Jenkinsii does so well, and as far as growth habits and conditions are concerned, they're almost identical. There's nothing between them really. So if one grows okay, the other one should as well. Given that it did pretty well last year anyway, it did grow some lovely big new canes, far bigger than anything that were currently on the plant. So it's doing okay. Yeah, so to set the laptop up is nothing more than clearing off a couple of plants. That's relatively easy. Just find the apple blossom got moved actually, so that's the one that got moved. Funny how these blooms are dramatically affected by light. Now when this is up on that high shelf where the laptop currently is, the light comes from behind and the blooms are absolutely stunning. And because the light's brighter up there, the fragrance comes out really good as well. But if you bring it down here with the darker background, it's lost its backlighting, the blooms go quite dull. They certainly haven't got their vibrance that they have with that extra light. That could probably apply to other things as well. Yeah, so as I say, I'm not doing a big deal today. I haven't really got a topic or a subject. We've had a look at a couple of plants. These sort of things are worth having a good look at because they're going to be gone soon. The anosmium's already dropped a couple of blooms, so these are starting to fade. You know, again, short-lived and then nothing for a year. And you've got to do your best to grow it on as fast as possible. And in the case of this one, I haven't even got a new growth started yet. At least the Nestor is getting on with a new growth. I would have liked more than one, I must admit. The Hercoglossoms coming on now. I can't really get far enough away from this one at the moment, but this is starting to open buds in lots of different places now. There's some sort of through the back here. There's a nice little cluster here, a couple coming out here, a lot here, and I don't know whether I can get it to twist a bit, can I? Yeah, there's an awful lot round this side that are getting buried in amongst the leaves and everything. So that's coming into its full sort of blooming now. And the canes are all getting tangled up with Nesta, with each other. Got to the point now where some of my dendrobiums are actually too big. We might be doing something about that. But a lot of these older leafless canes around the back here, this is their last blooming. This is their last little flurry. And then they are in effect dead canes, so an awful lot of those can come off. The new ones are okay, they just head up towards the roof until they're heavy enough to keel over. But yeah, this is getting quite a tangled mess now. It needs rearranging just so that the canes are separated. Because all these leaved canes here, they're going to bloom again next year. And if I don't do anything, they'll be just a tangled mess again the same next year, with some more keeling over and joining them. So it's just going to get worse if I don't deal with it. But yeah, this one's not going anywhere because this even has a second flurry of blooms later in the year. But this was one of my earliest dendrobiums that need a sort of rest in the winter, although I discovered after a while that this one doesn't really rest. It carries on growing through the winter, providing you deal with it. I suspect if you withheld water and chilled it down along with the other proper resters, you'd stall the canes, because mine carry on growing slowly right through the winter and on all through the next year as well. So I don't interrupt its growth. It slows right down in the winter, but it doesn't stop. You know, the rate of growth goes down. So it doesn't get as much water and feed, but it still gets some, because it's still growing. So that's how I keep that one going. Yes, I had to move the Tolumnias off that, you know, because they're all up. The ones that are in bloom live along that bit so that I can see them from in the house. And a couple of the Cattleyas got moved. And the laptop just sits there quite nicely. I've got access to a mains plug, so I can not let it live off the battery. Because certainly with the amount of graphics that would be going on with a live broadcast, plus the CPU, it's going to gobble the battery quite quickly, I expect. So it needs to be plugged in so that the battery don't conk out. But yeah, I mean, that's got to be a YouTube thing. When I get it back onto my desk where it lives, where it's right next to the hub basically, I'm going to try that again. Because if that's a problem with the laptop talking to the hub, one, I'll be incredibly surprised, because that just shouldn't happen. But I need to eliminate it. That can be the only thing that is my end. But I just think it's YouTube's having a wobbly at the moment. Might just be getting inundated. You know, it's a Sunday. You know, Sunday's a busy time for people loading stuff, and perhaps there's just a huge excess of people, you know, trying to do live broadcasts or something, and they brought the servers down. Or they could have decided in their infinite wisdom to do some maintenance on the servers. So they got a restricted service. I don't know. You never find out either. So email saga is not over. Luckily I had a separate email address for the Bournemouth Orchid Society with some emails in it, which meant I had the contact details. So I forwarded those into my new email address so that they were in there, so that I could then send an email to the chairman, whatever, to actually get my formal email address at the society changed and notify all those that need to know. And I've done the same thing with the Wessex Orchid Society via Lynn. So she lost the toss. She's not in charge of that sort of stuff, but she is chairman, and I actually had her on my phone, so I could actually send a text direct to her and ask her to just deal with that. So that'll be the two orchid societies. But I've still got a lot of other places that I probably haven't even thought of yet where this email needs changing. But it's got to the point where it's become so tiring that I can't deal with it anymore. So I'm not attempting to do any more work on that today. I'm just going to get myself something to eat now and settle down for the evening and just forget everything. I'll obviously get this video processed and get this loaded. I just told Christine that I was going to have a go at a live broadcast at 4 o'clock, so she's probably sitting there twiddling her thumbs thinking, what the hell's gone wrong this time? Just add it to the list. Just add it to the list. But I got a feeling that, I mean, you obviously saw that the live streaming was working from yesterday's, so it's nothing to do with me, nothing's changed. So it's got to be the YouTube end. Out of my control, as flipping usual. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'm having trouble even standing up and keeping my eyes open now. I've just done too much. And I'm going to have a lazy time from now on. This has opened differently this time, the Coleogeny. Last time the blooms were more separate. They were farther apart. And it was more obvious, the markings in the lip. But it warrants a close-up, which this camera won't do, so I'll have to leave it, won't I? But yeah, I've got one spike left on the chrysotoxum that's still got good blooms. All the others are dropping, and I should have. It's just dawned on me. I should have watered my mounts today. They didn't get done. Oh, well, we've had zero sun today. There's no heat out here. It's 21 degrees, so it's not warm. They'll be fine. And I'll get on with them tomorrow perhaps. And yes, so sorry no live broadcast. At least I didn't announce it and put a video up saying I was definitely going to do it. It was just an inkling. So that's the way it goes. So I'll get this video processed. I suppose we better have a look at these because these are going to be gone soon. God, those leaves are really going now. It's just old pseudobulbs, they're just dropping their leaves. But this little one's going to be going over soon, I suspect, and this one won't be far behind it, so that'll be the orange Cattleyas gone. In fact, that'll be all the Cattleyas gone apart from Apple Blossom. There quite a few have been and gone recently, so we're now waiting on the other types because we've been through the sort of late winter spring bloomers, and then we'll get the summer autumn bloomers eventually, which hopefully will include my Laelia purpurata. I know I've got one set of buds and I think that's all I'm going to get. I can't get at it, it's right at the back, and the laptop's precarious on that shelf, so I'm not starting to move plants around up there. Perhaps we'll have a look at the Cattleyas during the week sometime. Anyway, that'll do for today. Sorry no live broadcast, but you got your Sunday chat about all my woes and troubles. Maybe we will get brighter days where everything goes okay. You know, and you get up in the morning and the birds sing and the sun shines and everything's just fine. Yeah. But when it's out of your control, all you've got to do is live with it and grit your teeth. It's no good getting ratty, really. I mean, I have got ratty today on several occasions, but what did that do? Didn't achieve anything, did it? So there's not a lot of point. You just keep going, try and get things sorted best you can, do the best you can. And that's all anybody can do, really. And if you have to bail out and get help from somebody else, then so be it. You know, we can't all be good at everything. I mean, lucky I'm pretty good at this sort of stuff, but I've been beaten today by bugs in software that I can't do anything about. I did all the right things to achieve what I wanted. The software stopped me doing it. And it's unannounced. That's the annoying thing. This business of not recognising devices, I've got no control over that. The first thing I did was I thought, hang on, I wonder if this laptop's got software built into it that changes the IP address every time you start it up, so that it keeps changing. And it doesn't, because basically the IP address goes with the hub, the internet provider. It's your link to the internet. So even though it's part of the laptop's property, it's generated when you access the internet, and it's stable. I've got 2 IP addresses on here. It will be using one of them now because it's not plugged into the internet with a wire, and then when I plug it back in and make it a wired connection, an Ethernet connection, it'll use the other IP address. But nonetheless, both of those have been used on and off, and Google Mail should just be able to handle it. You know, it should just handle it. not make a complete pig's ear of the whole flipping operation. And it's unattended. I mean, Gmail is free. At the end of the day, it's got a recovery piece of software, and that's it. If you can't get that to work, you've lost your account. There's no comeback. You can't get at them. There's nobody you can phone. You can't email anybody, especially if you've just been locked out of your email account. It just goes on round in circles, doesn't it? Anyway, food time, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. And again, sorry about the lack of live broadcast, but at least it wasn't telegraphed as though it was definitely taking place. It was just a thought that I'd have a go at it. I've had a go at it, and well, as I said, for a very obvious reason, it isn't working. I suppose I could hit, if I hit try again and it works, I'm really messed up, aren't I? God, typical. I don't believe it. Right, so here I am filming a video that I may now never post. Oh yes I will, because I'm not going to stay live for long. Looking at your camera. Yeah, I know. It's a long story. Let me shut this down. I'll say goodbye on this one.